Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 4th of May. And yes, I have to do it. May the 4th be with you for all of our Star Wars fans. That's the limit to which I enter into Star Wars. You'd have to talk to my husband if you want more than that. I would like to talk to you today a bit about a concern I have about people's ability to just maintain hope in spite of things. Sorry. Um, Last week, the Supreme Court in the States delivered their decision about the Voters' Right Act and pretty much gutted it, meaning the things that people recognized years ago, decades ago, that needed to be put in place so that every person, regardless of the skin color, their gender, things like that, could be recognized as a citizen and able to participate in democratic elections, pretty much got gutted. They talk about gerrymandering and all the things about districts, and they use language that talks about, we're in a world now where racism doesn't matter, that people don't think that way, that we can do things without needing to have diversity, um, inclusion, things like that, equity. We don't need those things anymore. And the fact is, I think that we're living in a world that we absolutely do not need those things. We're not in a place yet where we can say that what the color of your skin is, or where your background, where your great grandparents are from, doesn't matter. We just aren't. And for those of you who might think, or those of you who actually watch these videos, I probably don't think this, but there have been some who have levied the challenge. Who do you think you are, a Canadian? Like, chime in on American politics. Well, the fact is, as I saw a video just the other night of somebody who's a Canadian. He's a teacher, history teacher, and he's like, as somebody who lives above the sleeping giant, every snore and every movement that happens does impact Canada. It does. It can't. The United States does not live in a bubble, as we're seeing, and it does have impacts around the world when things happen. And Canada is just that much closer. So yes, I am concerned, and I do have. I think that Canada does have a right to be concerned. And the idea that that educated people, people who have been lawyers, who are now judges, might think to themselves that might try to legitimately make the argument that we don't need these protections or these opportunities, for where there is a majority a majority of the people in the area are a minority of the overall membership of a state or a union, um, that they don't have opportunity because there are people who have the money to go out and advertise, or just simply, purchase the votes, to be able to say, you might have 90% of your population might be black, but you're not going to elect a black person ever again. That is so wrong. And it's hard to keep our spirits up, because the fact is that Canada is walking a very different path politically currently than the United States, but we still have many people, some of them getting more and more vocal in Canada, who are speaking along the same lines, who are picking up the playbook of Project 2025, who are picking up the game plan of those people from MAGA and other groups who are implicitly and explicitly trying to turn the world on its ear so that the white man, emphasis on white and man, can have maintain the power that is rightfully there somehow. I don't agree with that. Obviously, if you've been watching my videos, you know I don't feel that way at all. Um, but the frustration, I think, lies in the fact that people have just been so inundated. It's like, when you come into spring and you're glad that it's spring and it starts to rain, and you're like, you know what, great. April showers bring May flowers, and the rain will be great. The farmers need the rain, and then the rain doesn't stop, and everything's mud, and your dog comes in completely muddy, and your car gets stuck in the mud, and you're kind of like, oh, it's got to stop raining one of these days. And then you get the high water warnings, and you have communities which are being flooded out, and you're thinking, this is not. We just got to keep up hope. We got to fill the sandbags because this won't last forever, and yet it seems to. At some point, you get to the point where people are sick of filling sandbags, and I'm a little bit concerned that that's where people are. They just get inundated over and over every day, every day. Another truth social coming out about, no, this is the way things are and the way they should be, even when it's a completely a lie. And we're seeing people being not only discouraged from voting, but finding ways to make sure that if they do vote, their vote doesn't seem to count as much or is somehow negated, or, you know, making sure they can't vote, taking their names off the voters list, or making sure people, women in particular, have women who have been encouraged to change their names when they get married may not have the money to then go back and get their birth certificate or something that proves who they were when they were born, and then being told you can't vote unless you have ID that shows who you were, like who you originally were before your marriage. It's so convoluted. It sounds ridiculous as I say it out loud. And I think people are at the point where like they're sick of filling sandbags. Like, what more can we do? This Canadian history professor I was talking with said the No King's Day that people participate in has to happen every day, every week, every month, every year. It's not something that can be a one and done. This is the point. People have to get to the point where they realize that the fight that you're fighting is every day. And but there needs to be hope. There needs to be hope. I apologize. Skunk is whining and crying in solidarity for all those who can't vote. She's not allowed to vote. She's only almost one. So, Um, but we need to have hope. We need to believe. In spite of all of the things that tell us there's nothing great to believe in, we need to believe. 1 second as I pause, Skunk. I think we have Skunk understanding she can't vote. But we have to recognize that wherever we are, above or below the border, on this side of the world or across, across the pond, so one way or the other, we cannot give up hope. We cannot give up the belief that God created each of us in God's own image and that we are created equally. No one, no race, no color, no gender is better than another. And if we hold on to that belief and we walk forward in hope that one day, God's desire that thy kingdom come on earth as in heaven will happen, we have to hang on to that. We have to hang on to the end goal, no matter how frustrating it might get. I understand that people might be angry they're impatient and they're wondering, when is this all going to end? Because it doesn't look like it's necessarily going to end at the midterm elections. And if what's his name keeps up this business about, like saying he's going to run for a third term in 2028, it really doesn't feel like the end is in sight. However, we know that an end will come. We know that God's kingdom will be on earth as it is in heaven eventually. But that means we all have to do our part. And that means everybody has to get out and vote. In the States in November, but also here in Canada when the time comes. We have to stand up and go to our parent teacher associations and our local town halls when our officials get up and say, hey, we're gonna have a chat. We have to hold their feet to the fire. We have to remind them that they serve the people. The people don't serve them. And that might seem like something that's completely overwhelming and something we might not be able to do. But what is the alternative? If we quit, if we give up, they steamroll and they get everything they want. If we continue, or skunk, if we continue even doing just our small daily things, prayers, having conversations, demanding that people listen to us, writing letters every day, there will be hope. So whatever's happening with the Supreme Court, whether it's the voting or the new thing about abortions and getting rid of certain forms of birth control, as the case looks like it might be coming down the pike, we need to be prepared wherever we are in the world, whether it's standing up against autocracy in the States or in Canada, or speaking out for democracy in places around the world that don't have it. We need to stand up and, first of all, we need to hit our knees and pray. And then we need to stand up and do as Christ is calling us to do, which is to move with the Holy Spirit, to do what we would have done to us for others. If we wouldn't want someone to stand in front of us and say, you can't vote or your vote doesn't count, then it is incumbent upon us to stand up before others and say, your vote does count and we're going to help you. We're not going to let them strip that right away from you that we wouldn't want stripped from us. It's a hard way to start the week, I know that. But it's a hard week to start. But if we all work together, if we all listen to the call God has on our lives, if we all whine like skunk is because we want our vote, then eventually something's going to give. Eventually, it's all going to be the way God intended it to be. We can sit back and wait for God to do the work, or we can do what God intended for us to do in the first place and get our butts in gear and we can do the work. Have a great day. Keep the faith. God bless you. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.